Ladies and gentlemen, fourth and trollers, men and women of the world, of the fourth and troll fantasy world, welcome back to the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. That is right, it's Fourth and Troll Fantasy. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we are coming off of what was the biggest explosion of fantasy football that we have seen based on how this season has gone. What a crazy week we had as far as fantasy football performances go. Some great games, some insane performances, some hat trick touchdowns scored. Unbelievable stuff in the fantasy football world this week. Wes, how'd this week treat you? How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm great. It's a bummer when you put up 130 points and you don't win.
Yeah.
Because that was the minimum for everyone this week. It was shocking. It happened to be in mine and Noah's, I would say, most personal league, the one we've invested the most in.
Yeah, there's daily communication in this league, and everybody's always talking, and lots of trades and trash talk, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so that's that one of my four leagues I lost. I won in all my other leagues, but
congratulations.
I went up against Alvin Kamara in two leagues. So managed to scrape by and won, but it was the difference maker in our league. Noah, how are you doing after probably, I would say, the biggest fantasy football weekend I think I've ever seen?
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, Wes. I'm doing all right. Took a loss, put up 133 points, which is like, like, man, how do you take a loss on 133 points? My opponent scored 149. It's just like, I think the average score in that league and probably around most leagues in fantasy this week was like 140 or something along those lines. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Started out Sunday morning just watching AJ Brown just make me feel terrible. In turn, though, I had Jalen Waddle, so I was out at a restaurant with my opponent this Sunday. We're watching, and I'm just watching AJ Brown, and then we look to the other TV, and it's Jalen Waddle, and then it's back to AJ Brown, and it's Jalen Waddle.
That's fun.
And then we're watching. I have DeAndre Hopkins on this team, so I'm watching DeAndre Hopkins go, and it's just came down to it. Needed T. Higgins to pull off his best game of the season on Monday night if I wanted to get a win. Couldn't do it, but 133 points. It's just, future's bright. Future looks good, but
it is funny how it's almost a wash. Like everyone played great. And at the same time, that means like no one stood out. Everyone was just so good. So
it's tough. Want to give a special shout out to one of our league mates, Wes. It's our resident Brit, Jacob Wheeler. It's a tough beat on Monday Night Football. It was, Jacob was down, I think, 18 or so points, and he had Nick Chubb, and his opponent had Hayden Hurst. And with 6 minutes to go in this Browns-Bengals game, it is lead changes. It's like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. And the Browns got up enough and had a little enough time on the clock that Dearness Johnson just ran out the last few first downs. He lost by less than a point. He needed 9 rushing yards from Nick Chubb to get a win and take down the undefeated team in our league. And so condolences to our buddy Jacob Wheeler. But that was, it was a tough one. That was a tough one, but it is going to be a great show that we have for you today. We've got a huge weekend, as we were talking about just now, fantasy football, crazy performances to go through, some fluker for real to kind of break down. Going to do some must starts, risky starts, don't starts. And then on the morning of this NFL trade deadline Tuesday, Wes, what do we need to know going into week 9 of the fantasy football season?
We're going to start out with a defensive update, which we don't normally share defensive player news, but the Buccaneers superstar linebacker Shaq Barrett tore his Achilles on Thursday Night Football and is done for the season. I think I read his recovery time is 7 to 9 months. Yeah. So this makes the Bucs defense, this makes it relevant to fantasy, is that the Bucs defense is already in shambles right now. This makes them a tough start going forward, especially without Shaq Barrett. And they've scored 4 points or less over the last 3 games. So including the 0-point performance on Thursday. So we think moving forward, the Bucs are going to be a stream at best. Now, after missing his 5th straight game, Michael Thomas has no timetable for his return, according to the Saints head coach. He's still expected to return at some point, but even still, he's disappointed fantasy owners yet again with an injury. So who knows if we'll ever see him this season. And as we know, Connor also missed Sunday's game against the Vikings. Cliff Kingsbury stated that after ruling James Conner out on Friday morning, a few days in advance before the game, they already ruled him out. He said, quote, hopefully he'll play next week. It's probably best to continue to hold on to Eno Benjamin, see how that works out. Eno Benjamin didn't have such a great game, but just in case, James Conner still may miss another week of football. Mac Jones is dealing with numbness in the same foot. He had a high ankle sprain in week 3. He's still playing against the Bears, or not the Bears. Who am I talking about? He's still playing, not Bears, but on Monday night, still playing next up, but it may affect their decision going forward. Bailey Zappi may keep playing. It's just a tricky situation with how Belichick's going to go. Who knows what the quarterback situation is going to be. The Bengals have clarified that Jamar Chase will not go on IR. So he's not guaranteed a minimum of 4 weeks, but he still could be. It's just something worth contemplating if you were holding on to Jamar Chase and you're thinking about trading him, or on the flip side, if you wanted to trade for him, he may come back in 3 weeks. We don't know. Nothing's guaranteed, but we do know he's not on IR yet. So in Baltimore, Gus Edwards, as we saw, suffered a Thursday night football injury to his hamstring, which was after a great run. And so far, it's only considered to be minor, but he's still going to be likely a game time decision, maybe a few days out before he is officially determined whether he's going to play in their next game. Right now, John Harbaugh said he's day to day, but it's still going to be several days before they touch the field again. So who knows if it's locked in yet? We'll have to wait to hear. There's been some discussion in Dallas after Tony Pollard's impressive performance as to whether or not Tony Pollard may split the backfield as a committee or possibly be named the RB1 in Dallas. Well, Jerry Jones said that they're going to go with Zeke no matter what, as long as Zeke is healthy. So Noah and I have some thoughts on that. We'll get to that a little bit. Yeah, it's not been Zeke's year. Tony Pollard's been great, but anyway. All right, some scary news happened at the end of the 49ers game. Cooper Kupp was injured very late in the fourth quarter with an ankle sprain. It appears that Sean McVay said that Cooper Kupp will be day-to-day, but he does expect him to still play on Sunday. So keep your eye out just in case Cooper Kupp has to miss this week. Jonathan Taylor.
Can I say something on that real quick?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I know we all praise Sean McVay as this wonder kid and he's won a Super Bowl and all this stuff and he's so young and he's a great coach. Dude, you're down 3 scores with less than 2 minutes left in the game. Why are your starters playing? Stop. I don't know if it's like a little brother, big brother type thing with Shanahan and he's trying to like close the gap so he doesn't lose by as much from the coach on the coaching tree he came from. Stop. Like that's really dumb. I thought it was so stupid to see. I was like, oh, so who's hurt? It's probably Skoranek or something like that. No, Cooper Kupp is playing on the last drive of the game when he's pass blocking on the last drive of the game. I thought that was so dumb. I'm still a McVay fan, but I thought it was so stupid. And we're really hoping that this Cooper Kupp injury is not something serious because football is better when Cooper Kupp plays. So that is very true. Yeah. Moving on. Anyway. All right. Jonathan Taylor reportedly tweaked his ankle as well during the week against the Commanders and will be evaluated later this week to see if there's any real cause for concern. I've got cause for concern with the Colts offense, but it's we're going to have to see if Jonathan Taylor has any kind of injury for anything that sets him back for the next week or so. Andy Reid, the Chiefs head coach, he said that Kadarius Toney is healthy.
and ready to practice. And they are, quote, ready to get him in the mix. You got to wonder if Kadarius Toney was like, yeah, this hurts real bad. Oh, Mahomes is my quarterback. You know, it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. Coach.
Feels good.
I can get in there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Apparently, he could suit up. First game as a Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night against who was it? The Titans, I believe. Well, in New England, Devontae Parker also suffered an ankle injury. A lot of ankle injuries. Geez. Ankle sprain against the Jets, but he may only miss 1 week if you have Devontae Parker for some reason. Mark Ingram suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain and will be out 3 to 4 weeks, which makes a very interesting situation based on Alvin Kamara and whether or not he is traded. We'll get to some trades in a little bit here. Chuba Hubbard is expected to play this week, but Sam Wilkes stated before the Bucs game he'd roll with a hot hand. All signs currently point to Deonta Foreman remaining as the lead back in Carolina after all that he did against the Falcons. My goodness. In Baltimore, one last injury. Rashad Bateman will miss several weeks with a foot injury. And as far as the Ravens have reported, Mark Andrews is fine and is just dealing with a shoulder and ankle injury, but isn't expected to miss any time. And like I said with trades, we're not going to report any trades because we're dropping this episode bright and early on this November 1st trade deadline Tuesday. So we're just going to wait until Thursday to talk about any of the big news that happened. We don't want to say, oh, this has happened, but not include something else just in case. So for that reason, we're going to move on and head over to the recap of the most explosive fantasy weekend in history. Noah, who got us hyped up? Who didn't get us hyped up? Honestly?
That's what I was going to say. Who didn't get us hyped up? Because that was ridiculous. I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, so many people got us hyped up. From just people making plays, people got me hyped up. PJ Walker got me hyped up. PJ Walker. That was the best throw of the year. Best throw of the year.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. Really wish they would have sealed that with a W, but that's all good.
Yeah. DJ Moore, worst mistake of the year.
Yeah, the worst mistake of the year. Also, just want to say, Arthur Smith, remember when I ranted at you about using Kyle Pitts? Remember, again, now you use Kyle Pitts and you won a football game. So, never been wrong on this podcast. Never been wrong. So many people got us hyped up, though, Wes. We just mentioned him a little bit regarding his running mate, but Alvin Kamara. I think the dude's back. He's back. Yeah. I think my big concern coming into the season with Kamara was we've seen him play with Jameis, and he doesn't get thrown the ball with Jameis. Well, Jameis got benched. So, Alvin Kamara is feasting. He is feasting. 18 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. 10 targets. 10 targets as a running back. That's ridiculous. 9 catches for nearly 100 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Top scoring running back on the week with 42.8 fantasy points. If you're saying top scoring running back, didn't Christian McCaffrey go off? Yeah, he did too. Who didn't? Am I right? Christian McCaffrey, 40.26 fantasy points. 18
just sit
carries.
Back and listen to these stats.
Unbelievable. 18 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown, 9 targets, 8 catches, 55 yards, and an unbelievable receiving touchdown. And then 1 passing attempt, 1 completion, 34 passing yards and a touchdown. Move over, Jimmy G. It's CMC. He is running this offense. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He is unbelievable. People may be saying, "Noah, you traded away Christian McCaffrey. Do you regret it?" Well, I got good stuff in return, so not entirely. But man, 40.26 fantasy points from Christian McCaffrey.
For your defense, though, you traded away the Carolina Panthers, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
when Baker Mayfield was the quarterback.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and my team wouldn't be what they are now if I hadn't have made that trade and gotten those pieces in return. So, listen, Christian McCaffrey absolutely killing it. Always good to see one of your exes go out there and just absolutely thrive, and that's what I'm watching right now. So,
glow up.
Christian McCaffrey absolutely killing it. 23 jersey still kind of weird. Wish you would have paid Jeff Wilson for the 22, but it's all good.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, I talked about him a little bit. Just got to watch this man terrorize me. 11 targets, 6 catches, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
In the first half, man, at 3 touchdowns. Just shy of 40 fantasy points, 39.6, wide receiver 1 on the week. I mean, any doubt anyone had about Jalen Hurts being able to being a pocket passer, dude is unbelievable when you put some great weapons around him. We'll talk a little bit more about him and his weapons and must start, risky start, and don't start. But AJ Brown, unbelievable wide receiver 1 on the week. Let's talk about somehow Derrick Henry is not the RB1 on the week, despite going for over 200 rushing yards.
Oh my goodness.
35.8 fantasy points, 32 carries, which I was expecting for this game with no Ryan Tannehill. Was going to wonder how much of a passing game they had against the Texans with Malik Willis under center. Pretty much none. Pretty much none there.
None at all.
32 carries, 219 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 target, 1 catch for 9 yards. Listen, don't say he's not a PPR value, baby.
Yeah,
1.9 points there. 1.9 points. You know, you could have just had 33.9 fantasy points. Oh, but no. He's a PPR value, baby.
Yeah, he is.
35.8. You would have lost this week. My goodness.
Dude, this is like, as soon as you said, I think King Henry is not right.
As soon as we said, I think we lost the king and the queen in the same week. Derrick Henry just decided to say, oh, no, I'm still here. Don't worry.
Resurrection.
Yeah, I'm still here. Don't worry. That whole thing of, there hasn't been a 28-plus-year-old running back to finish top 5 or something like that. Yeah, no, that's out the window. That is wide out the window. Also, first 200-yard rushing game for a running back this season. Something tells me it will not be his last either, because he just loves to terrorize the Houston Texans.
And he's got to play the Jaguars still.
And he still has to play the Jaguars.
Destroys them.
He hates them too. Yeah, Derrick Henry, if there's one thing we know about him, he hates the Jaguars and he hates the Texans.
He hates the
And he has 3 more games against them collectively this season. So that is going to be unbelievable. Wes, let's talk about our boys, baby.
Dude.
Let's talk about our boys.
Miami Trio.
Miami Trio, the big 3. We thought there was only be one Miami big 3 when it was LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh.
Right. They're pretty good.
This offense is crazy, man. Tua Tagovailoa, 29.18 fantasy points, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then 5 rushes for 19 yards. QB1 on the week. Gotta love it. Gotta love seeing our boy out there flinging the rock. Who cares? Who cares if Tyreek came back for a ball? I don't. I want a game. What did you do?
Yeah, fantasy points helped. It's still a catch.
I don't care. I really don't care. Listen, I'll be a biased fan real quick. Just because Twitter talking heads make me a little mad. Ready?
Yeah.
Everyone is losing their mind praising Terry McLaurin for the catch he made on Stephon Gilmore at the end of that Colts game. Do not get me wrong. Incredible catch and play by Terry McLaurin. Incredible play on Stephon Gilmore. He came back on that deep shot by Sam Ehlinger. Deep shot by Taylor Heineke to get them to score the game-winning touchdown. Great play by Terry McLaurin. If that's a Tua ball to Tyreek Hill, everyone is talking about the underthrow. That is the only thing they're talking about with that play. I'm just going to say that. If that's a Tua ball to Tyreek, it's nothing but holy underthrow. Oh my gosh, he had to come back for that one. Oh my gosh, he put every bit of him into that throw. Oh my gosh, shut up. Don't care. QB1 on the week. Suck it. I don't care. And you know why I don't care? Because Tyreek Hill had 31.5 fantasy points. And then Jalen Waddle had 30.6 fantasy points. So talk all you want about noodle arm Tua, whatever. I don't care.
My goodness.
He produces for the people. And also, by the way, he's 5-0 on the season. So just going to say that one too. It was the Lions. Don't care. The Eagles won by 3 points against the Lions. So whatever.
All right. I want to.
Sorry. We just had a little fun there.
Just want to share one
is
thing
anyone still
quick.
listening? Do you think anyone's still around right now?
Hello?
Guys?
Fins up?
Guys?
I just want to say that I'm so happy that Jalen Waddle is balling out too, because that was a concern heading into this season. Was like, all right, Tyreek Hill's still going to do well, but like
Man, Jalen Waddle broke a record last season, most receptions by a rookie. We were so excited for him, but now in fantasy, Tyreek Hill is going to eliminate all the progress he made. Nope. They're both great. They're both top 5 wide receivers in receiving yards. And in fact, Tyreek Hill is on pace to break the record. Unbelievable.
But Tua is going to ruin him, right? But Tua is going to ruin him.
I'm going to make a point about it, but I'm going to be far less biased than what you just did. But we'll get to that when we get to let down in a second on a different wide receiver. But
sure. I mean, it's it's fantastic to see this trio doing so well. It's just awesome. I'm thrilled for next week against Chicago to watch this team do what they do. I am thrilled, Wes, for December to watch this team in person with you at SoFi Stadium take on the Chargers. Man, what a game this is going to be. It's going to be a fun one. But that trio is absolutely killing it. Another guy who is just coming back and killing it. Another guy that was on my fantasy team this week, DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, boy. We are being rewarded if we waited on this man, because 33.9 fantasy points. He is leading the league in targets and receiving yards over these past 2 weeks since he returned. Don't expect that to slow down, to be completely honest. He is absolutely killing it. 33.9 points, 13 targets, 12 catches, 159 yards, and a beautiful one-handed snag touchdown.
Ooh,
he's unbelievable. Nice. He's unbelievable. He is so good at football. And everyone was like, oh, he tweeted about it. He was like, oh, yeah, I turned 30. I'm washed. I'm done for, right? Okay, yeah, here we are. Here we are, Here we are. Man, he is so good. We teased him a little bit, though, here in the beginning, Wes, but Tony Pollard, 33 fantasy points, 14 carries for 131 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 target, 1 catch for 16 yards, 15 touches for 147 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jerry Jones, I don't care if you paid Zeke a lot of money. Guess what? You made a mistake. You made a mistake, because Tony Pollard should be the sole feature running back in your offense. Here's the one thing I'll say on Tony Pollard. It was 15 touches. And I get it. They were up by 20 most of the game, so they didn't really have to do a whole lot on offense. They didn't really have to do a ton. It was whatever. The only reason I think maybe they still lean on Zeke here is because Zeke can tote the rock 25 times in a game, and we've never seen Pollard take on that kind of role. But if he does this with 15 touches, what is he going to do with 25? What are we doing here? I don't know. I guess because Jerry Jones writes checks that he gets to be the one to say all this stuff. But I'm like, yo, Mike McCarthy, if you got any say here in any conversation you can have, say to Jerry, hey, we haven't put up 49 points all season, and he scored 21 of those points. So, he's going to – I honestly think we're looking closer and closer and closer to a split here in this backfield, and I really think it needs to be, because Tony Pollard is electric, and I have not seen Ezekiel Elliott be electric on this offense since his rookie season. It's very
possible that Tony Pollard steps into a position where he is considered an RB2 in your fantasy roster just after this kind of outing. I know that it's the Bears defense, and they have not been good against the rush. I think at halftime it was 100 maybe 100 yards, but he had a touchdown at halftime, and it was he had 15 to 20 points. And I was like, yeah, that is what I expected. I like this. This is rewarding for those of you that started Tony Pollard knowing Zeke was out. And then you get 2 more touchdowns, and it's hey,
explosive touchdowns too. Explosive plays. Yeah. It's just
this was actually back to my point in week 1 for Sunday Night Football. I was saying Zeke only gets touchdowns inside the red zone. Well, Tony Pollard burst down the sideline for these touchdowns. So he's going to really be good in our Fluker for Real segment. So I've got another idea I want to share when we get to him later, because this is a head turning performance and raises questions in that backfield, doesn't it?
It most certainly does. And, Tony Pollard's going to be a free agent this offseason. Dude, he is going to get a bag from somebody, because somebody is going to pay him, because My goodness, put Tony Pollard in Buffalo. Holy crap. Like that is going to be ridiculous with that team. Tony Pollard just killing it. Another backup stepping into a big role is we'll go to another guy here as a backup stepping into a big role. And this guy just seems to he seems to, maybe this guy's nickname is to be the mirror, because whenever star running backs go out, this guy just comes in and does the same thing that they do. Because D'Onta Foreman, 31.8 fantasy points. He had 26 carries, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dude's awesome.
That is great. Fantastic.
Good for him, man. Good for him. I mean, we really loved him, seeing him fill in for Derrick Henry. Good for him. Maybe I'm not sure exactly what his contract situation is. And there's a running back spot available in Carolina. Maybe he keeps that spot. Maybe he goes somewhere else and gets a good role there. But who knows? Maybe, they probably won't keep Steve Wilkes on as the head coach. But if they do, maybe D'Onta Foreman's a guy that we're drafting maybe the 3rd round next year in fantasy drafts, just because we've seen what he can do here.
It's also
love to see D'Onta Foreman do that. Yeah,
I agree. I'm very happy to know that he is this kind of player. And it's also just a little bit of like, I'll pat your back, you pat mine, Noah. Like, hey, we said this. It was Foreman instead of Hubbard, and Hubbard can still play a good role going forward. But it was like, yeah, we saw this last year. We're gonna say it's Foreman, and show enough.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all I gotta say. Show 100%. Enough.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Wes. This is from the preseason. We said, we did our mock draft episode, and when Christian McCaffrey was taken, we went and said, if you're going to handcuff him, the handcuff we prefer and the guy we think can take over for him in a decent role is going to be D'Onta Foreman. Here we are. Listen, that may be his best game of the season. Probably will be his best game of the season. But we've seen now 2 weeks in a row of him getting workhorse opportunities, and he's doing well for your fantasy team. So really awesome if you're a D'Onta Foreman owner. I had D'Onta Foreman on my bench. I picked him up off waivers. Actually traded him. I traded him before this game. Listen, would have loved to have him. Not that I would have started him over Kenneth Walker III or Jonathan Taylor this week, but would have been awesome to still have him on my bench. I ended up trading him to upgrade my quarterback situation, as I talked about on last Friday's episode with Mr. TB12 for us to pivot here. But D'Onta Foreman, it's awesome to see him have success, and we're really happy for him there. Another guy here, just a few more. Jalen Hurts, we already talked about his wide receiver. 285 yards and 4 touchdowns. Listen, he looked like a pocket passer. You know why? Because he only ran the ball twice. He ran the ball twice against the Steelers. The upside of Jalen Hurts is his rushing talent, his rushing upside. You didn't even need it. 28.4 fantasy points in 3 quarters. 3 quarters from this guy, 28.4 fantasy points. Awesome to see Jalen Hurts.
If anyone is trying to say that he's not a good pocket passer and trying to say that A.J. Brown gets all the credit, well, look, it's fantasy football. So if A.J. Brown's hauling in 3 touchdowns in however many double, triple coverage you want, okay, great. Jalen Hurts walked in with 4 touchdowns. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Whatever. I mean, who cares what you think on his, like, in the scale and the tier list of quarterback rankings? There he is, QB2 by like decimal points to Tua.
Yeah.
So look at them Bama boys go.
Yeah, look at them Bama boys go, those pocket passers. Yeah, we talk about pocket passing, right? Because Peyton Manning had no one as his wide receivers for his whole career. What are we doing here? Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, there's a name. Yeah. Julius Thomas caught the record-breaking touchdown for the single season at the time. Listen, Jalen Hurts is proving doubters wrong. I remember we saw Gardner Minshew come into this game. Remember when everyone was like, Minshew's going to take Jalen Hurts' job? What? Like, what are we doing here? No,
last season was a much different story about what they wanted from Jalen Hurts and the questions if he was going to be their franchise.
Yeah.
And here we are 8 weeks in, and they have yet to lose. And he's putting up big fantasy points too. Okay. So,
and I was speaking with some people this weekend because I made a bold take. and I'm not going to mark my words on this. It was just something to look at. I think the Eagles could make the playoffs undefeated. I think they could go undefeated regular season because here's the rest of their schedule. Okay. They have the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Okay. They have the Commanders next Monday. They have the Commanders the Monday after that. They have the Colts the week after that. They have the Packers the week after that. They have the Titans after that. They have the Giants after that. They have the Bears after that. They have the Cowboys after that. They have the Saints next. And then they close out the season against the Giants. Listen, the only teams on this remaining roster here, and everyone has down weeks, so I get it. The only teams that I think can beat them here are going to be, I think the Giants might be able to win one of these games, or the Cowboys could beat them. Cowboys might be able to beat them.
I'm going to throw in the Titans. I think the Titans have a shot.
You think so? Just with the running game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Titans are pretty resilient, and wow, how am I forgetting their head coach? Vrabel? And Vrabel always can usually figure out a way,
and they got a good rush defense.
I think they're I think they're going to be favored in like every single one of those games, and I think there is a chance they still could lose one of those, but gosh, they look good. That team is crazy, and there's a chance they only lose the Super Bowl potentially. This could be absolutely crazy, but I know the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Larry Zonka is waiting with his bottle of champagne to pop open, but they need to wait a little bit. I'm not sure. This team looks really freaking good.
Yeah, and great for fantasy. It's not just like the Giants where they're winning, but it's not helping anybody in fantasy. Like it's just success all around.
Yeah, and just for fun, Wes, a kicker got us hyped up.
Let's go, dude.
Because Nick Folk had 21 fantasy points this week. 5 field goals and a PAT. That was ridiculous, but it always ends up happening a couple times a year. There's always a kicker who just goes for 20, 25 points. It's crazy, but kicker Nick Folk, I know he helped people win weeks this week. If your opponent in our league did not have Nick Folk and had somebody else like Evan McPherson, you would have won. You would have won this week. You would have won this week, Wes. So definitely a lot of people got us hyped up this week on a crazy week. Just a few people that had us let down here, Wes. Let's go over them. A couple of Raiders. Josh Jacobs. Listen, this team was down the whole time. Game script wasn't really favoring him. He only had 10 carries. He still had 4 targets, which he's still maintaining the passing game opportunities. But just a bit of a dud week for Josh Jacobs. I'm not too worried about it. I personally am a Jonathan Taylor owner, and I am I'm sending offers for Josh Jacobs for Jonathan Taylor straight up, just to see if somebody believes in the upside of JT more than they do Josh Jacobs. Maybe they think Josh Jacobs is regressing, and it was just a good stretch there. I don't personally, but we'll see what happens. I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast.
I agree, though. I think this is just some days you're going to have a top player like Josh Jacobs just kind of fall flat on a week, especially when, well, let's just jump to Devontae Adams. When nothing works in the passing game. When nothing
happens. Yeah, when nothing happens here, 1.2 fantasy points. Like, he didn't catch did his catch come from Derek Carr? Like, here's the root of all of this, I think. I think Derek Carr had a stinky poopy diaper butt game. Yeah. Derek Carr was really bad. He barely threw for 100 yards in this game. I think he had 100 total because I'm looking at it here. He rushed for -1. He had 101 rushing yards and an interception. Like, Derek Carr played horrible against a Saints defense who didn't have Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, you want to hear
Marshawn Lattimore wasn't playing in this game. Like, do I? Am I going to cry about it? Probably. Yeah, go for it.
At halftime, Devontae Adams had -0.1 points at half.
Yeah,
because he had 1 rush for -1 yard. Yeah. Derek Carr at the half had even worse points than that. He had -0.38 points at the half. It's
terrible.
It's unbelievably bad. And it's
a terrible game for the Raiders. Terrible game for the Raiders.
The Raiders do not look good. As far as fantasy, Josh Jacobs has been fantastic. And of course you get down games like this, but here's what I was going to say when we were talking about Tyreek Hill. and Tua ruining him and all that kind of stuff. So this will be a fascinating retrospective at the end of this season, comparing Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes to Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, because Tyreek Hill, as we said earlier, is on pace to break the record for most receiving yards in a single season.
Yeah.
And Tua is playing phenomenal as well. Patrick Mahomes is playing really well as well. And this was honestly the question, which was, who was the real magic? Was it Mahomes being able to throw it anywhere and Tyreek Hill just had the best QB in the league? Or was it Tyreek's speed that was actually making Mahomes great? This was a real conversation as soon as they parted ways. But I don't remember anyone wondering if Devontae Adams would still be good in Vegas, or if Aaron Rodgers would still be great without Devontae Adams, because it was, back-to-back MVP. Like, sure, he doesn't have Devontae Adams, but this was the thought, let's sit back and see how he's going to pull this off. How is Aaron Rodgers going to impress us once again? They're both doing bad.
He's not. Yeah. Yeah.
They're not doing well. And it's credit. I give more credit to Tyreek Hill because Mahomes is a different kind of human being. But Hill and Mahomes are crushing it. But Adams, I wouldn't say this is a fluke or for real kind of stat line, but this is that can never happen again, right? McDaniel, don't ever let this happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was an awful game for the Raiders all in all. And they here's a stat I actually heard this morning. The Raiders did not have a play on the other side of the 50-yard line until Derek Carr was out of the game.
Ooh,
it was when Nick Mullins came in that they actually made it past the 50-yard line. So it's just this.
That's awkward.
Same way we're kind of calling this fantasy week a wash. You hope this is a wash. You hope that the Raiders, with the amount of talent they have, maybe when they get Waller back and they have a full arsenal of weapons, they kind of get a little more ground here. But AFC West, we were gearing up for this to be just a crazy division. And besides the Chiefs, nobody has been like, oh my goodness, this team is electric. It's just been really, really disappointing.
I think I was thinking about why Russell Wilson, speaking of the AFC West, has been such a disappointment. I think because we were spoiled 2 years in a row. Because Brady left New England and went to the Buccaneers and won a Super Bowl. And then Matthew Stafford left the Lions and went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And now Russell Wilson left the Seahawks and went to Denver. And he won in London. You barely won 3 games, and it's not anyway. All right.
Just tiny last thing on this. Just because you brought up Russell Wilson, and we haven't talked about him because it was a London game. It wasn't anything crazy. Dude, what's going on? Because it feels like there are some drives that just a switch gets flipped and it's oh my gosh, it's vintage Russ. Oh my gosh, he is incredible right now. It's first half against the Chargers Russ and second half against the Jaguars Russ. You put those together, and that was the Super Bowl winning Russell Wilson. And it was what? Yep. Where does this switch just flip? And it's now he's here. He's making plays. He's leading 88-yard touchdown drives. What's going on?
Fascinating.
I don't get it. It's crazy. Hopefully they take some of this momentum into the bye week and they figure out this offense and they take time to really look at it in between Russell Wilson going to church camp and doing high knees to figure out what's going on, because this would be awesome to see this team really, really gain some stride here. But yeah, just a small note there. But moving on here, just with a couple other guys that let us down, a couple other teammates here, Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, both kept under the 14-point mark after we just watched Joe Burrow just go crazy over the last few weeks. 13.48 fantasy points. Listen.
Yeah.
Kevin Stefanski, and I don't know the name of the Browns defensive coordinator, and that whole Browns defense just came out with a plan to stop that Bengals offense. Because Joe Burrow looked like Tua last year with the amount of time that he had to throw the ball. It was ridiculous. He was Myles Garrett obviously is a force to be reckoned with. Jadeveon Clowney back this week. They're playing together. Just this team, this Browns D line was just destroying the Bengals O line. Joe Burrow had such little time to throw. Still put up 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like it's still like even on a rough week.
Yeah, even still,
2 turnovers in this game. If he doesn't have those, he's at like a 17.5 point week, which again isn't like okay, but it's also like all right, like you take 17.5, but
it's really just without Jamar Chase, it was like, oh, that hit Joe Burrow way worse than we thought. But without Jamar Chase, it was like, hey, T
Higgins is a bit disappointing as well.
Kind of just wanted him to go off.
Yeah,
that's all I wanted.
Yeah, he showed up a little too late to that game there than I was hoping for. Needed about just over 30 points from him to pull off a comeback. Didn't get that. But the Bengals play the Panthers and then the Steelers and then the Titans over the next 3 weeks. And those are not good pass defenses. So maybe we'll see, if, that's about the time frame Jamar Chase is supposed to be out. Maybe over these next 3 weeks, this passing game figures it out and they can get stuff going there. Steelers may have TJ Watt back at that time. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see with that divisional matchup. But just some guys that let us down. We were hoping for a little more here. We were excited. I would say more so just excited to see what more could be here with the T. Higgins Joe Burrow matchup. Yeah. Then the connection there. Then maybe let down. But just definitely we're hoping for more. Hopefully we'll see that. Last guy here, and just a bit of a letdown because he has been so electric over the last 2 weeks since he got the starting job there. It was Kenneth Walker III, KW3, just 12.2 fantasy points, saved the day by getting in the end zone there on that really awesome like cutback run. He took like a draw up the middle. Box was completely stacked up and he just cut it back himself. And it was all him. He broke like 4 tackles on his own. He shook like 4 guys off just to kind of get to the end zone. Great display there on that run. I've yet to have a game where Kenneth Walker has been starting where I'm not looking at a play he makes and going, oh my gosh, like he is good. Like, wow, he is really good at football. But just 12.2 points is a little bit of a bummer. His passing game utilization went down a little bit. Travis Homer was back, and for whatever reason, Pete Carroll loves him. He's a great special teams player, and he provides a little bit more options in the passing game as far as running backs go. So he got a little bit more of that passing game work than Kenneth Walker did. They each still only had 1 reception, but Travis Homer had a few plays that it was specifically like, okay, this is a passing down. Travis Homer is in, whereas in weeks before, we've seen Kenneth Walker be in for the whole time pretty much. So I'm not worried that he's getting opportunities taken away. Just a bit of a letdown, 12.2 points after such major games over the last 2 weeks.
Exactly. It's just a letdown. I mean, 12 points, fine. Take it or leave it. I mean, in this explosive weekend, it seems really bad compared to everything else.
But everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, it's been fine. I actually have the snap count here. Travis Homer played 22% of snaps, which is not a lot, but
so DJ Dallas got a few in there as well, but Kenneth Walker III still over 70%, I believe. Yeah,
77%.
So he's still very much the workhorse back there. Seahawks over the next few weeks have the Cardinals, the Bucks, and then the Raiders, who Cardinals just had Dalvin Cook have a great game against them. The Bucks have been getting run all over. And then the Raiders, we just saw Alvin Kamara do crazy things for them. So going to be interesting over the next 3 weeks to see how Kenneth Walker III plays out. Definitely have some nice matchups there that I'm excited about as a KW3 owner. Those are going to be the guys that let us down. Again, just a few of them over this crazy week.
What a week.
We're going to do one of our favorite segments we have together. A lot of these guys we've actually talked about already, but we're going to rapid fire here, some fluke or for real. We're going to do some good performances here that we got to break down. And the first one here off the bat, Wes, start out in London. This guy went crazy in London.
Oh, he's incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah?
Wembley Stadium. It's crazy.
Don't even know you.
Bro, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's mad.
It was so great, yeah?
That's mad.
Yeah.
Nice. Always my favorite part of our show, by the way. All right, Travis Etienne, 25.2 fantasy points, workhorse back, 28 opportunities for the man. 27 touches for this guy in a workhorse role. This is a guy we talked about all offseason that we were hoping that was going to have this workhorse back opportunity. 25.2 fantasy points. Fluke for real. But what should we say at the same time?
We can say at the same time. We're a little delayed though, so it'll
be fun though. It'll be fun. Let's just try.
Okay, great. Ready? What are we saying? Oh yeah, never mind. I got it.
Fluke for real. 1, 2, 3. For real. Wow, we were good at that. Nice one.
I was on time on my end.
I was on time on my end too, dude. I don't know what's going on. Travis Etienne Jr. is the real deal. He's for real. This team is not very good, but he is. Listen, he is killing it, and just plug him in. Be confident. He's good to go. Another guy in London that we saw have some success. His name's Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy, yeah.
18.3 fantasy points, 7 targets, 6 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. This touchdown was like a little just pop pass, and he took it around the end there. Melvin Gordon made a great block. Greg Dulcich made a great block. Ran into the end zone inside the 10-yard line. But 18.3 fantasy points from Jerry Jeudy. Fluke for real.
I'll buy it. I'll bite. And it's because Cortland Sutton
that's what I was
has been sucking. So
it's been 2 weeks now. It's been multiple weeks now where Jerry Jeudy has had the production and Cortland Sutton hasn't. And I don't know if that was Russell Wilson or Brett Rippon, whoever was playing, hearing enough about Broncos quarterbacks, just not looking around the field. But Jerry Jeudy is getting some opportunity, and who knows? By the time this airs, maybe there's an announcement of a trade. Maybe Jerry Jeudy,
we don't
somewhere
know.
else. We don't know. We're going to talk about it on Friday, but trending upward for Jerry Jeudy. It looks good. I'm glad to see him doing well because, man, he's an awesome player. It's just this offense has been weird, but good to see him do that. Tony Pollard, Wes, 33 points. We talked about it a little bit, but Fluke for real.
I'm gonna say Fluke.
Yeah, me too. Because the Cowboys are dumb.
Exactly.
Just because I think the Cowboys are dumb. Yeah.
It's because Jerry Jones is going to put in Zeke. And I think this is going to be a lose-lose situation. I don't think Zeke is going to do great anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to come back. And I don't think he's going to say like, Zeke who? Remember that whole thing? And it was like, I'm Zeke. Like, no, this is just going to – I think this is going to be bad for fantasy for both of them. I really hope I'm wrong.
Me too.
I mean, it'd be great if if Zeke does come back and he starts crushing it because people took a shot on him and he's still a good running back. But I think Tony Pollard owners are going to be a little sad when Zeke comes back.
I'm a Tony Pollard owner. I'm a little sad. I still feel like Tony Pollard can be a viable flex option every week just because I hope he gets more involvement. But I don't know. The Cowboys are stupid. So we're just going to have to wait and see on that.
In weeks prior, Tony Pollard has been integrated very well in the passing game. So if you are in a PPR league, there's less concern for the future when Zeke returns. But either way, we know it. We know deep down in our gut, this is not.
Yeah. We're not going to see a workhorse opportunity for Tony Pollard again. But Tony Pollard has 5 weeks with double-digit fantasy points versus just 3 with single-digit. So he's making well on his opportunities. And we saw that crystal clear this week. But let's move on here. DJ Moore, 27.5 fantasy points, seems to be PJ Walker's top guy. Fluker for real.
Oh, for real. He came alive. He has come alive without McCaffrey. I'll say it. Christian McCaffrey is holding the Carolina Panthers back.
Oof.
I mean, they go out and they dominate the Bucks, and then they're in a shootout with a division rival.
They should have won too. Yeah. DJ Moore has 21 targets over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, 21 targets over the last 2 weeks. It's for real.
This is for real, and especially in a clutch Hail Mary throw for a touchdown should have taken the lead. I like this a lot. I try to make a trade. I was
thinking about it too.
I tried to make a trade as soon as McCaffrey went to the Niners, and I was like, ooh, oh, I bet this is going to happen. And everyone was like, not really. I don't think so. And I was like, no,
Boom. It is.
you don't know it like I know it. And
We see the future. Yeah, no.
So
Fun little stat right here for you real quick. In Vegas on the sports books, DJ Moore's stat line for his over under on receiving yards, whether he'd get more or less than a certain number, was like 52.5. And he got more than that on one catch. So it's for real.
I love
DJ
it.
Moore's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. Let's jump to a guy that I'm excited about, and we're going to talk about a little later in the show. But Justin Fields, 26.04 fantasy points. Fluker for real, Wes?
For real.
Oh, yeah.
Something happened with that New England game where all of a sudden he was like, oh, yeah, wasn't I a first round pick? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And has just played really well. I mean, they got annihilated by the Cowboys, but like fantasy football, like
Yeah,
look
fantasy wise. Yeah, this is a fantasy podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's killing it. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But he is absolutely killing it. That's for real. Deontay Foreman, already talked about him, 31.8 fantasy points. I think we both think this is for real. Wes, are we on the same page here?
Yeah, we are. And it'll decrease because 31 points is a hyped up kind of number, but
yeah,
I love seeing 26 carries. That is a meal. That's what I want in a starting running back.
Here's the key on that. 26 carries in a high scoring 34-37 game. So they know that this offense is running through the run game. That's how they are doing well. Like Steve Wilkes is like, we're doing well when we run it. And that's what we're going to keep doing here.
And one target. So he really was running it. Yeah. One target, 0 catches. He didn't sneak into this, like Alvin Kamara dominated the passing game as he's done for the last 5-ish years. This is all on the ground. This is carrying a handoff and taking it, to the house 3 times. This is fantastic. When Chuba's back, we'll probably see a decrease in his production. But I think based on your running back situation and your running back health, you could slot him in as RB2. I think you could. Yeah, you could be comfortable with him.
Yeah, at the very least, a flex spot, if not an RB2. So yeah, definitely feeling good there. Kyle Pitts, 19 points. Fluker for real.
I hate him.
Me too.
I'm gonna say fluke.
Oh, it's a fluke. 100%.
I'm gonna say sell him. Do it again.
Kyle Pitts owners, sell him right now. He will have one more week like this the rest of the season, and it'll come a few weeks from now. But sell him. The 9 targets is nice to see. It's a good thing to see there. 9 targets for Kyle Pitts, but listen, the spikes are insane. It's ridiculous. Fluke. No, I don't want to hear anything about him.
I'm jaded. I can't buy it.
Yeah, neither can I.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on here, Rondale Moore, a guy that we were, expecting to be good last week. He didn't end up doing too much. Rondale Moore, 23.4 fantasy points, 8 targets, 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Fluker for real, Wes.
I think this could be for real. I think there was an opportunity for Robbie Anderson to step up now that he had, a week and a half of extra time with the Cardinals after being traded just a few days before the Thursday night game. But I don't know. I think Rondale Moore, I think we had some high hopes for him, last season as well. He started to make a name for himself. I'm interested. I mean, if I have to pick, I'll say for real, but I'm interested to see where it goes. If I need to stream a wide receiver, I'm going to pick someone up. Okay. I'll keep my eye on him. What do you say?
I think it's for real too. I think with that Thursday night game that we were expecting, he's been doing really well. We were expecting a little bit from him there. And because of not having Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore had to play like out wide kind of, and he had to play more snaps out towards the sideline. And so that's not his game. His game is the slot. His game is coming out of the backfield. His game is there. And that's what he was able to do this week after getting Robbie Anderson more involved, and the schemes played out more in favor of Rondale Moore here and how he's used. I like Rondale Moore. I think he's a good streaming option. I don't think you necessarily need to run and grab him because I don't think he's somebody you can plug in every week and feel okay about. But
yeah,
if you're in a streaming situation, I like Rondale Moore a lot. Another guy I like, Wes, Tyler Algier, man. I like Tyler Algier, 17.5 fantasy points. It's kind of hard to figure out this Falcons offense, but what do we think? Fluke or for real?
I'm not sure if we'll disagree, so I think we'll have to discuss this. But I say this is fluke. I have not seen enough of. I haven't seen him be enough without a touchdown to be worth starting. He has snuck by on a couple of occasions through touchdowns to end up in double digits, and I'm not convinced the Falcons are a ground offense. I mean, I'm not talking about Kyle Pitts getting 9 targets, them being a passing offense, but it's just a mixed, confusing bag of Atlanta players that I don't have yet enough confidence to say, yes, I'm taking him. And to the point now where I'm looking at Tyler Algier's recent stats, I'm thinking, yeah, Cordell Patterson may come back and actually be worth starting again.
That's what I was going to say.
What do you think, Noah?
I'm going to say fluke because Cordell Patterson's returning soon. That's what I'm going to say. Cordell Patterson was posting on his social media, him working out. He looks good. Cordell Patterson's going to return, and Arthur Smith is going to keep using him over some of these other younger guys. So, I think this is a fluke. But if you started Algier because you had to, maybe you had Eckler or maybe Clyde or somebody you need to slide into a flex spot there.
Joshua
Algier, you're happy about you're happy about that. A few more guys here. Let's fly through. Wes, Jacoby Myers, 21 points. Fluke or for real?
Fluke. I never buy into these Patriots receivers. It's a different one every week. I don't like it. I mean, I think he's probably the best Patriots receiver, but I don't. No, I don't know. No,
yeah,
I say no.
I think it's an upward trend because it was Mac Jones all game. He was doing some good stuff with Bailey Zappi, but 12 targets from Mac Jones, 21 points on Jets secondary is no joke. Like Sauce Gardner is good. I don't think he's going to, average. This is his floor, but I think he's a decent flex play if you have him. I think it's a little bit of an upward trend there just because we're seeing it with Mac Jones as well. But I'm not completely sold. When we talked about who I wanted the least amount of players from in this offense in the beginning of the offseason, it was the Patriots. And I still stand by that besides Ramondre Stevenson. I think Ramondre Stevenson is still the only Patriot that you are locking in and are confident in. Going forward here, Antonio Gibson just keeps on confusing us. 20.7 points, just 7 carries, but 7 targets for 7 catches for 58 and a touchdown. Looks good. I mean, maybe with Heineke, this dude, I believe he had over 16 points last week. Maybe with Heineke, Gibson is on the flex radar. I don't know. Maybe he's worth picking up if you got some bye weeks. This upcoming bye week has a lot of people out. I am dealing with a lot of bye weeks this upcoming week. If Gibson's available in one of my leagues where I need to fill in, I'm not just taking a dart throw on a player here. I think Gibson is potentially a good streaming option for your fantasy team. But what do you think, Wes? Fluke or for real?
Probably.
I know. Neither of us are happy about this.
I know. I was really looking forward to Brian Robinson being the guy, but I think. We're seeing Terry McLaurin come alive too. I mean, talking about that catch, but like with Heineke, McLaurin is kind of a set it and forget it receiver again. And with Carson Wentz, he wasn't. And Gibson with Carson Wentz wasn't doing much either. I know that if I say fluke, I'll regret it because he'll just prove me wrong. So in the meantime, I'm going to say for real because he's kind of like Tony Pollard, just with more muscle mass. I mean, 7 targets, 7 catches, 58 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Hard to ignore, dude.
Yeah, not excited about it, but I think there's a little bit of for realness to it. Yeah, definitely. Brandon Ayuk out here catching touchdowns from Christian McCaffrey, 20.1 fantasy points. Fluke for real, Wes. We both love this guy.
For real. I'm locked in. I love it.
Locked in.
I don't care that Debo was out. Ayuk is their best pure wide receiver. He's their best pass catcher. I'm excited. And when Debo's back after their bye week, I can't wait to start him.
I agree with you there. Let's jump into Tyler Conklin, 25.9 fantasy points. What?
What?
Huh? What happened here?
Who?
What's going on? Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're both on the same page here, Wes, but Fluker for real.
It's just hard to ever look at a tight end that walks away with 2 touchdowns that you don't even really remember their name before that game and say, oh, yeah, this is my guy going forward. So, Fluke, I mean, I don't like the Jets offense anyway with fantasy. So, yeah.
Same. I'm in the same boat there. Last guy here, guy that we both kind of like, Greg Dulcich, baby. 12.7 fantasy points. Fluker for real, Wes.
I like it.
I do too.
I like what's happening with Dulcich. I'll save it. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit too, but it's something's happening. He's turning heads there in Denver. I like Dulcich.
Something's brewing in the air there with Greg Dulcich for sure. All right, so those are some good players we got to talk about for Fluker for real, Wes. Let's talk about some of these bad players. We talked about them a little bit already. Cortland Sutton, 2.3 fantasy points, 3rd straight week with 5 or fewer points. Wes, I took your advice. I was trying. I tried to take your advice to trade this guy and to sell him from our garage sale segment in our last episode here. But, I mean, what do we think here? Fluker for real.
He's pissing me off, man. For real. And I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Garbage. Thankfully I explained like all that like math and those statistics last episode. So I don't have to do it again, but it sucks that I'm right.
Yeah, it does suck. It sucks. Both of my guys, Rashad Bateman and Cortland Sutton, have been super disappointing the last few weeks. And
Bateman's been hurt.
Sutton, right. I mean, Sutton started the season good, but it's been tough, man. Let's jump to a new New York Jets running back, James Robinson. Fluker for real in just 1.7 points.
I'm actually inclined to say for real, but it's too early because he is his first game with them, and I think
it's entirely too early to make a call on this. Yeah, in my opinion, he joined the team with like 3 days of practice to go. McCaffrey only had 7 or 8 points his first game, and he was far more involved on his new team in his first game. They traded for the guy for a reason. It isn't just to be a depth piece. They could have brought up Tyler Johnson or LaMichael P. Ryan or whoever if they needed somebody to go behind Michael Carter. But no, it's James Robinson. It's too early to tell, but I truly think this is fluke, and there are much better days to come for him as a RB2 option, to be completely honest with you.
I agree. It's frustrating because you would have liked to see just a few more points. It just some kind of glimmer of hope there in New York. But I mean, just for what it's worth, Michael Carter saw 56% of the snaps. James Robinson saw 22% of the snaps, but then Ty Johnson ended up seeing 32% of the snaps. So he was 3rd in the rotation. It is still too early to call just because it was, a few days after being traded. So it just
also that offense looked abysmal and Zach Wilson sucked. So
they did not look that great either. So
no. So there's that. Let's talk about my guy, the dreaded conversation to have, Jonathan Taylor, 5.6 fantasy points. Listen, 16 carries is we like seeing that. And I think if he hadn't tweaked his ankle, maybe it would have been a little more here. But he had the fumble, which was like a weird play, but it's just disappointing. He has been a major letdown, the consensus #1 pick, and now it's just been completely a letdown for this guy. What do we think, Wes? I know you had some things you wanted to say on him.
Yeah, I do. Would you like to go? Would you like to make your case first before I explain why this is for real?
I mean, not really. I mean, it's been so up and down, and so it's just like it. When I made that trade for him, I was trading for the upside, and I think the upside could still be there. It's just this offense is like, again, I mean, we kind of mentioned it, and I think you're probably going to talk about it here, but like this offense doesn't have any direction. This offense doesn't know what they're doing, it feels like.
Yes, that is a solid start to what I'm going to explain here. So The Colts offensive line is ranked 26th overall. They are also 28th worst in rush blocking, which is, just to make that understandable for everyone, only 4 teams are worse than they are in protecting the run. The Bengals, the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Bears. But you know what those other 4 teams have in common? They have another threat outside of the running back. Okay. Bengals, Cards, Rams, they all have really good receivers, right? The Bears don't have fantastic receivers, but they have a dual threat with Justin Fields, and David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert each have over 90 carries and have 800 yards combined. So they have other weapons. The Colts don't. Michael Pittman has done nothing. And now they're going to another quarterback who, as much as I teased him, try to make him sound awesome, like he was even more disappointing than I think people expected him to be. So I looked at some of the rushing numbers with the Colts. Statistically, Jonathan Taylor rushes inside the tackle more than any other starting running back. 88% of the time, he runs toward those blockers that are ranked 4th worst in blocking the run. And he's only rushed to the outside tackle the other 11% of the time, or whatever it is. And that's the worst. He rushes outside the fewest amount of any running backs. When you get into the red zone, he's only had 14 carries. And inside the 5-yard line, he's only carried the ball 3 times. Inside the 5, they're not punching it in with Jonathan Taylor. He only has 1 rushing touchdown on the whole season. And you wonder why. You want to know who has more rushing carries inside the 5-yard line than Jonathan Taylor? James Conner. And he's been out since week 5. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm going to call it like it is, guys. He's ranked 33. He's RB 33 on the season. Jonathan Taylor's a bust. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
He's a fantasy bust, especially for the number 1 pick overall.
It definitely feels that way. I mean, I was just, while you were talking, I was curious as to what shifted, what changed, what happened between last season and this season. And the O-line hasn't even changed all that much. There's 2 new linemen, but there is still Ryan Kelly at center. There's still Quentin Nelson at guard, and there's still, I don't remember the other guy's name, but it's only been 2 linemen that have changed. It's majority of the same line. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't like it. I think I'm stuck right now because I'm looking to try and move Jonathan Taylor, but I don't know who would trade for him. And I don't know who would take
that
him.
Other guy doesn't listen.
I hope the Josh Jacobs owner takes him. Yeah, I hope the Josh Jacobs owner buys in the same way I did when I traded for him. But it's just, I don't know what to make of his production. I don't know what I can get. I'd feel dumb trading like Jonathan Taylor. Like I don't think I can get Jonathan Taylor. I don't think I can get Ramondre Stevenson for Jonathan Taylor. Like even that, and that's a name that's like
Ramondre Stevenson. I think is RB7.
Yeah, that was like 9 rounds apart. They were going in fantasy drafts. It's like I don't know what value you can get in return for Jonathan Taylor, and so I think I'm stuck. The upside here is that hopefully he doesn't have many more 5-point weeks, but on a team that I have him on that I just put up 133 points with him having a 5-point week, maybe he can have a 15-point week and that can help me out and with my team. But I think I'm stuck with him. I don't really know what to do with him. I'm really trying to move him here, and it's disappointing. It's really disappointing.
It's hard.
It is very, very hard time for Jonathan Taylor owners out here. So it's tough. Let's jump through just another few of these guys here, Wes. George Pickens, 0 points, a goose egg, 3 targets against a really good Eagles defense. What do we think, Fluke, or for real?
I mean, 0 points won't happen again. But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to say that this is a fluke and that George Pickens will start picking it up because he's had a couple of good weeks in a row. But, Claypool's starting to do well too. And, Johnson gets a lot of targets too. So, I mean, if I have to choose, I'm going to say fluke. I think that this won't happen again, and he'll start seeing closer to that 8, 9, 10-point range again. But there are a lot of people that are very, very high on him and expect him to be, the new Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. And I don't know about that right now.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is entering into a really, really, really rough stretch of seasons here because this team does not look good. This team doesn't look good. And I think, I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but I think they made a mistake taking Kenny Pickett. I think they may have been, it's hard to say a GM is like pressured into drafting somebody for a football team, but like they could have had Mitch Trubisky and had the same record here, I think, and still have now a top pick in next year's draft, which is loaded with quarterback talent. And
that's an interesting thought.
I honestly think it's tough, but I think we could be looking at like a Josh Rosen situation here where they still take a quarterback with their first pick next year because Pickett hasn't really shown signs of being a franchise quarterback. So
they probably won't, just because people have reacted to Kenny Pickett positively already. And so they'll just hear that and try not to ship him away. I mean, kind of like Gardner Minshew with Jacksonville, but yeah, it's very interesting because I think you're right. I think they would have had just as many wins with Mitch Trubisky and could have protected Kenny Pickett from being obliterated with that SPBD line. So
I agree. A couple of Rams here. Darrell Henderson with 5 points. Tyler Higbee with 3.5 points. As both these guys, fluke or for real, Wes?
I think this is for real.
I think it's for real for both of them.
I don't like what's happening with the Rams offense still. Like, I like that Al Robinson had another double-digit game. That's great for those that have, maybe picked him off the wire because people dropped him after the first couple of weeks. But, even if Cooper Kupp misses this game, I'm not firing up Darrell Henderson. I'm not thinking the rushing game is going to be the way to go. It's just this offense. I don't know. Do we need to give 1,000 points of credit to OBJ? Like, was he really this much of a difference maker for the Rams?
Was he really that guy? Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe Robert Woods, when he was there, and then they traded him away, or not traded him away before that. But I don't know. Maybe they just need a wide receiver too, and Al Robinson's helping. I don't know. Point being, for real, I don't like the Rams offense for fantasy.
Yeah. Backfield is interesting. Sneaky, maybe waiver ad here. Guy worth considering is Ronnie Rivers.
Okay.
Exactly. Random name, but it's like he had
Might
8
as well.
carries to Darrell Henderson's 4, and he had 4 receptions. Like, he was involved in the offense. So maybe also I know Kyron Williams, their rookie from Notre Dame, is coming back. This Rams offense is weird, man. Besides Cooper Kupp and maybe Allen Robinson, I don't know if there's anybody else.
It's very possible
putting in your lineup
that we saw one of their last victories on the season. Noah,
potentially, potentially could be.
It's too early to jump ship on McVay, Stafford, Kupp, Donald, Ramsey, and Wagner. But I don't know, man.
Could be. I hope they enjoyed the Super Bowl parade because I don't think it's coming again this year. Anyway, last guy here, Derek Carr. We already kind of talked about him. 1.94 fantasy points. I mean, I don't know how you can say for real on this because I don't think you got to be even more talented to try and repeat this performance than to not. But I mean, this is just I think it's a down week. But Derek Carr necessarily hasn't been lighting it up. But fluke for real, Wes.
Yeah, I like that analogy. You have to be more talented than possible to even do worse. There was a teacher of mine in high school that would give you 105 or 110 on your test if you intentionally
if you got a zero.
If you got every single
I was going to say, I was going to bring
risk
that analogy.
You take.
People say that.
You get one right, and there you go. You get like a 3 on your test.
Yeah.
Look, this is fluke. but not for a good reason. This is fluke because Devontae Adams' game was a fluke. This is not going to happen again when you have a talented wide receiver like that. Or if he throws it to Josh Jacobs and he takes it to the house or 40-yard gain, whatever it is. But I think with that being said, it's for real, and that Derek Carr is probably not worth starting again.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. That is going to do it for fluke or for real here. Let's do a little bit of waiver ads, Wes. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a fantastic idea, Noah.
Sounds fun. Let's go through real quick our waiver ads for week 8/9. I guess week 9 waiver ads. I'm not sure which way we fall on that. Maybe week 8 waivers, but who are we adding off the waiver wire, Wes? Who's the waiver ad of the week?
I teased him a little bit. I like Greg Dulcich. Mm-hmm. I like what's happening there with him involved in the Denver passing game. He's coming alive, and I think Russell Wilson knows it. He has had double digits in every game he's played. And his first game, we'll say for the narrative, Noah, he won you your game. He won you your game in fantasy.
He was my savior.
He saved you because all of a sudden you had to basically drop Dalton Schultz because of an inactive Sunday night game. And you said, well, here we go. Put in Dulcich. What do you know? Touchdown against the Chargers, Monday Night Football. Well, then after that, he's averaged 7 targets a game in the last 2 weeks. And he's averaged 69 yards in the last 2 games. With Courtland Sutton fizzling out of this offense, and again, we're recording this before the trade deadline has completed, so there's all speculation too. But Jerry Jeudy's on the trade block. KJ Hamler is on the trade block. Even still, I like the way Dulcich is being involved. He is truly being targeted, and he is making differences in that offense. He's getting big first down. He's getting big plays. This is an actual fantasy option, an actual passing option for the Denver Broncos. And I think I think it's worth taking, not just because it's an upward trend, but I looked, only 2 tight ends have eclipsed 100 points in fantasy this season, halfway through. So we still need some good tight ends. So here's a great option for you. Go get Greg Dulcich.
We talked about it. I love Greg Dulcich. He was my savior that week. Yeah. He was absolutely killing it. He is involved in this passing offense. I like Greg Dulcich a lot. I think it's a great waiver ad. And probably one that not many people will be looking at because the Broncos have a bye week this week. So he is a bit of a stash. You won't get the immediate impact, but you have free reign on him no matter where your waiver order is at, or you might need to not need to spend a ton of fab if you need to get him. It's probably not going to be on a ton of radars because he's going on a bye week. So
just plug in if you want someone else for waiver wire, use your waiver wire order, and then maybe you just get him on Wednesday afternoon or something.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. Great. Noah, this is great because you and I we both wanted the same 2. These are both of our top 2 waiver wire ads. Yeah. And you said, I'm taking Greg Dulcich. And I was like, okay, I wanted to. And then you said, scratch that. This is my waiver wire ad. And I was like, yes, I'll get Dulcich. And now you get to talk about your waiver wire ad of the week. Let me hear all about it.
I can't wait to tell you because attention, all Tom Brady owners publicly shared that we needed to pivot. We needed to move on. And I found our answer. And it's Justin Fields. It's Justin Fields, baby. Quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Listen, Justin Fields has been quietly killing it in fantasy over the last month. He has finished a top 12 quarterback each of the last 4 weeks. A finish of 17 points, a finish of 18.4 points, a finish of 23.4 points, and then a finish of 26 points. The stairs just keep going up. He is ascending in the fantasy quarterback rankings here with these performances. 26 points put up by Justin Fields on the Cowboys defense, the most fantasy points scored by a quarterback against the Cowboys this season. Over 9 points more than anybody else has scored on the Cowboys as a quarterback for fantasy all season. Jalen Hurts coming in second to Justin Fields here. Over the next 3 weeks, Justin Fields goes up against the Miami Dolphins, the Detroit Lions, and the Atlanta Falcons. all of which are matchups he should thrive in. As I just mentioned, he put up 26 points against the Cowboys team, who is allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. To give some context as to why I'm so high on Justin Fields over the next 3 weeks and why he should be a top priority waiver ad, here you go. The Dolphins are allowing the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. The Lions are allowing the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And the Falcons are allowing the 2nd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Justin Fields is about to feast. Justin Fields may turn in some MVP Lamar season type weeks over the next 3 weeks with that rushing upside. Get him on your roster right now. Justin Fields could be a key to you winning your matchups over the next 3 weeks. Get him on your roster. Book it.
Woo, baby.
Here's the craziest part of all this, Wes. We were talking about it a little bit before we recorded the show. I traded for Kyler Murray after I talked about Tom Brady on Friday.
Yeah.
I literally have almost talked myself into Justin Fields and convinced myself upon Justin Fields over Kyler Murray, even though I just traded for Kyler Murray. Or at least over the next 3, the matchups are just so juicy. And listen, I'm not going to say anything about, it's because of these players, but N'Keal Harry got activated off of the IR for the Chicago Bears team, and he caught a touchdown this week. So maybe Justin Fields and N'Keal Harry have a little bit of chemistry here. It's going to help Fields in the passing game. I love Justin Fields over the next 3 weeks. I think he's a top priority waiver ad this week.
I would argue that he could be the number 1 priority, especially, I don't know how many quarterbacks you want to name that have been disappointing. I mean,
yeah, especially because there's 5 quarterbacks that you can start confidently, and that's it. Yeah.
I think that, we need, a lot of people need a quarterback to kind of lock in for the next couple of weeks, especially after this explosion of a weekend. We need to find someone to kind of help us out. I like it. I'm very, very excited to see. I would think that Justin Fields gets at least 20 points the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that. He has at least, I'm looking at his stat line right here. He's got 3 total touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, a touchdown. He has at least scored a touchdown each of these last 4 weeks, and he's using his legs here. He's got 8 carries, 12 carries, 14 carries, 8 carries. He's consistent in the running game. He's improving in the passing game. His passing attempts are going up. He looks good, man, and I'm thrilled to see him play against these poor defenses to quarterbacks. I think it's going to be awesome.
I agree. I love it. Fantastic choice.
I'm excited for it. It is that time of the week again where we get excited for a Thursday night football matchup only on Amazon Prime.
Oh, boy.
We're expecting just a blowout from the Eagles as they go to Houston to take on the Texans. Here's the thing. We normally give must starts, risky starts, and don't starts. Wes and I are on the same page here. This is going to be the easiest must start, risky start, don't start segment all year. Must start all Eagles players. Start your Eagles fantasy players. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Start them all. They're going to feast. They're going to go crazy. This whole offense is. This is going to be incredible. Those are your must starts. Risky starts, not really anyone. Oh, also, not to mention, I didn't even mention Eagles defense. Eagles defense as well. Get them in the lineup. Risky starts, not really anyone. You don't feel really split about it. Maybe Dameon Pierce, which leads me to our don't starts. Don't start anyone on the Texans besides Dameon Pierce. That's all the time we have for 4th Troll Fantasy. Easiest must start, risky start, don't start all season. It's just we decided there's no reason to waste people's time on this. It was we know We know how this is going to go.
This isn't a trap game.
No. Nope. It's just Eagles are going to absolutely destroy, and it's going to be fantastic.
I have nothing to say. I mean, you said it all. It's just
there you go. There you go. Yeah, great segment. There you go. Yeah. Before we go off of this episode, though, we want to give you a little bit of a teaser for our Friday episode 21. We've been doing this for 21 episodes of this podcast out, Wes. It's pretty cool. But episode 21, yeah, thank you guys. This Friday, you've heard us throughout the season say, mark my words. Well, we've been marking those words. We have marked our words every time we've made that bold claim or a hot take, and we've said that mark my words. We've written it down so we can see how we end up doing. We're at the halfway point of the season after this Thursday night football for week 9. Wes and I are going to look over our mark my words to see how we've done up to this point. Do a little mid-season review. It's going to be a fun time. Make sure you tune in for that episode. It's going to be a good one. But that is going to be all the time we have for this episode. Wherever you're listening, we'd appreciate it if you give the episode 5 stars and write something funny in the review so we can give you a shout out next time. We're on social media everywhere at 4th and Troll and on Facebook at 4th and Troll Fantasy. Look for our mascot, Teddy the Troll, and make him smile by giving us a follow and joining us next time, every Tuesday and Friday. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.